Look, let me just say this to all the members of the Council of Corps. Let me say good afternoon to you. To all of the elected officials, and if I started calling names, you know, I will miss. So to all of the elected officials at all levels, congressional, state, local, both city and county. Now, let me be a little biased. Mayor Joe Zimmerman, you know, mayors stick together, so everybody else. But on the state and local level, let me just say good evening. To members of the business community, the civic community, thank you for being here. And then to members of the faith-based community, let me thank you as well. To all of those who are affiliated with the city of Houston, to my staff, to the directors, of course, Chief Fenner and everyone else, let me say good afternoon. And then to those who are representing various organizations, whether they're affiliated with the city or separate from the city, and let me thank all of you for being present as well. As many of you know, Prince Amyn's contribution to global progress and stability spanned his entire lifetime. From his early work at the United Nations in New York to the last several decades working alongside his brother, His Highness the Aga Khan, on projects to improve the quality of life of people on every continent on the globe. Prince Amyn, it is wonderful to be with you again, and as the Mayor of the City of Houston, let me welcome you back to the city. Today's gathering is for one of the most important and exciting projects in Houston. I'm incredibly excited about the progress being made on construction of the Ismaili Center Houston. I'm extremely pleased that despite the supply chain and other challenges the world has been facing, that construction of this monumental project has continued and is well underway. The Ismaili Center Houston will be a magnificent building, both physically with its landmark architecture, picturesque gardens, and ingenious design, and societally speaking, through its impact on Houston, across Texas, and throughout the United States. It will certainly add to when we say that Houston is the fourth largest and most diverse. It will represent and exemplify that diversity. The center will be a place where Houston's communities come together to strengthen and forge new bonds and work together based on our common values towards a future that shines even brighter than the present. Oftentimes, we fight against people that we do not know, simply because we haven't taken the time to sit down and get to know one another. But this center brings people together to have those conversations, and it's hard to work and be against someone that you call a friend. We all know that Houston is and has been for at least the past 4 decades one of the fastest growing, most cosmopolitan, diverse, pluralistic, and welcoming cities in the country. We say that we're a little bit country and a little bit chic all at the same time. It is no coincidence that over that time, the Ismaili community has grown more in Houston than in any other city, and that His Highness the Aga Khan chose Houston first for the Ismaili community principal, Jamal Khan, in 2002, and now for the first Ismaili Center in the United States. As Houstonians, or in your case, Prince Amyn as an honorary Houstonian, with a Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo belt buckle. We all have a lot to be proud of, and we all share a lot of our love in this city. I do have for you a cowboy hat, the boot, and everything else to make you a true Houstonian. Those two are interconnected. Houstonians actively seek to understand one another, exchange ideas, and learn new ways. We respect our differences, and we support each other, especially in difficult times. In Houston, we do love our neighbors, and more often than not, our neighbor has a different cultural, religious, ethnic, gender identity, a personal background that is his own or her own. But in Houston, we recognize that diversity is a strength and not a liability. I'm not sure if our pluralism is the cause or the effect of Houston's growing population coming from across the country and around the world. Probably both. Our pluralism makes our city both beautiful and strong. It makes us resilient, and it helps us to understand that despite our challenges, we can almost do anything when we work as one. I want to talk for a minute about the contribution of the Ismaili community here in Houston. The Ismaili community has consistently stepped up during this COVID-19 pandemic by assisting with multiple food drives, blood drives, and virtual awareness seminars, and oftentimes on short notice. It is this type of engagement and commitment to service that has made the Ismaili community a major contributor to our societal fabric in Houston. But even before COVID, the Ismaili community has always stepped up and has always valued the community in which they call themselves home, Houston home. They are our Houstonians, and we could not be more proud. And I could not be a mayor more proud to serve this community as well as the others that are in our city. Whether it's in good times or our most difficult times, the spirit of volunteerism in the Ismaili Muslim community leaves me in awe each year that I am mayor. And I want to particularly recognize the number of youth and young adults from the Ismaili community who make it a point to serve the greater Houston community with their volunteerism and contributions in the wake of disasters, but also simply in their everyday lives. These notions of service to humanity, of bridge building, and of giving the best of ourselves, which permeates the Ismaili community, are modeled by His Highness the Aga Khan through the work of the Ismaili Amyn and of the Aga Khan Development Network. The Aga Khan provides us all a shining example of values in action. I have been fortunate to personally witness the impact that programs and institutions led by His Highness are making in places around the world. To me, the theme of the Aga Khan and his family's work is that his projects and institutions not only greatly improve the quality of life of the communities where they operate, but the projects and institutions are about those communities. They are about the beneficiaries, not about the organization. One example that struck me profoundly when I visited was the restoration of the Humayun's tomb in Delhi, India, by the Aga Khan Trust for Culture, for which Prince Amyn is board member. It was astounding how the restoration of a historic site, which is valuable in and of itself, also had the goal of improving housing, education, economic opportunity, and access to health care for the surrounding community. That, my friends, take true vision. I have also seen the impact of civic engagement initiatives and the richness of the cultural, education, interfaith, and global outreach programs at an existing Ismaili Center in London, which I had the opportunity to personally visit. Which brings me right back to the Ismaili Center in Houston and His Highness' vision for this center and the contribution it will make to the quality of life of the citizens of our city and the world, now and in the decades to come. When I met His Highness the Aga Khan during his Diamond Jubilee visit to Houston in 2018, I was struck by how he thinks about societal development and how he sees which positive forces today can make the biggest impact decades from now. Finally, I believe that the Aga Khan has a vision for the Ismaili Center Houston that is beyond what any of us are imagining today. I believe this center will be more impactful and enriching than any of us are dreaming of. The Ismaili Center Houston is designed to house multiple spaces for conferences, meetings, and gatherings, a performing arts theater, 3 gardens in which to host events, and open spaces suited to informal interaction and presentations of curated art. It will be a place of congregation, expression, education, prayer, and love. And God knows we need a lot more of that. I look forward immensely to the opening of the Ismaili Center and to it being an invaluable contributor to Houston's reaching new heights as a global, cosmopolitan, pluralistic city full of love. It is these sort of buildings that really epitomizes what this city is all about. At a time when everything seems so divided and everybody's going at one another, in a time such as this, we need not just a building, but a building that breeds togetherness in our city. And to the extent it can happen in the city of Houston, it can permeate the rest of the world. And it's for that reason that this mayor and this city is so excited. Thank you, Prince Amyn.
We now request Prince Amyn Aga Khan to come to the stage to share his remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mayor Turner, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Like you, dear Mayor, dear friend, I'm amazed by that film we just saw. I don't know how it was made. My worry is that people who saw it will think the building is already there, and when they finally see the building in a year and a bit, they will say, where have all the yellow flowers gone? They were so pretty. I also want to thank you for making me a Texan, finally. I'll have to do something about the accent, I agree with you. Being a cowboy may be tricky. You'll have to find a very old horse. Anyway, I am delighted to be back in Houston and especially happy to be able to share these moments with you today. As we saw in the fly-through video, the Ismaili Center is an ambitious project, not just for the Ismaili Muslim community, but for all Houstonians. What we are building on the site across the Buffalo Bayou is a center dedicated to advancing pluralism, public understanding, and civic outreach. Today, Houston is regarded as one of the most diverse cities in the United States. It is a cosmopolitan city with people from various cultures and traditions living and working together. America's rich immigrant culture complements the fundamental principles of this country, which are rooted in equality for all that resonate with the teachings of all faiths. The center is intended to be a resource for all Houstonians as a place to come together with local, national, and international partners, many of whom are here today to enhance the vibrant nature and rich cultural tapestry of the city. I must express my appreciation for the support for this project from so many, including the state of Texas, Mayor Turner yourself, the city of Houston and its residents, including those present here today. The center in Houston joins its counterparts established by my brother, His Highness Aga Khan, over some 40 years in Canada, Europe, Central Asia, and the Middle East. Mayor Turner, as you said, I believe have visited the Ismaili Center in London, opposite the V&A. It should be noted that each of these buildings, designed by architects of international standing and multicultural sensitivity, is reflective of their own geographies and contexts. The design of the center in Houston is contemporary in its expression and is reflective of historically rooted, rich architectural heritage. It combines contemporary architectural technology with traditional Persian forms and ornament, and with ceramic mosaics and screens drawn from Islamic traditions around the world. Its atriums and ivans bring natural light and views of the sky to the heart of the building. I hope they will also raise the thoughts to matters spiritual of many of those who visit the center. The center's landscape gardens are intended to provide a sense of serenity and peace, offering a respite from the center's urban surroundings. These gardens will include tree canopies, fountains, shaded footpaths, flower beds, not all yellow of course, lawns and walkways. The planting will include indigenous species from the Gulf prairies to the Trans-Pecos, providing spaces of solace and rejuvenation of the mind and the spirit. It is also intended that they can provide spaces for musical performances, poetry readings, and other public gatherings, even such things as yoga and Tai Chi. In short, these centers seek to provide a place where people come together to share their creativity and their wisdom. Above all, these are places for contemplation, upliftment, and the search for knowledge, and they have become important cultural institutions. I've always believed that art and culture are effective ways to connect communities, and one of the center's objectives will be to offer the highest caliber of cultural programming and promote cultural dialogue, which are all key elements of sharing one's quality of life. The dialogue between cultures has forever existed, as a result of man's urge and need to travel, to discover, to meet people, to share experiences, to buy and to sell. Cultural dialogue unites by showing, by underlining what we share, despite our apparent differences. I am pleased to note that the Ismaili Center will work in close partnership with Aga Khan Museum, a museum based in Toronto, for which I serve as chairman of the board. A young institution, the museum has begun to make a mark as one of the leaders in the arts of the Muslim world. Its mission is to foster a greater understanding and appreciation of the contributions that Muslim civilizations have made to world heritage by showing their arts in their many and varied forms from across the world. My hope is that the center will partner with Houston's museums and other American and foreign museums in organizing both temporary exhibitions, lectures, even training programs, and the like. The Aga Khan Museum's recent exhibition on the Moon in 2019, to mark the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 lunar landing, to which Houston is well connected, explored our enduring fascination with this enchanting orb in the sky and looked at the so often similar role it has played in faith, science, and the arts across the Muslim world and beyond. I hope, too, that this center will partner with Texan and other universities and institutions of learning, including our own, in projects of an educational nature aimed at children as well as adults, and which they too, as they increase and improve understanding, will both reveal and reflect how much we share. In this endeavor, we look to you for your continued support, not only as interested observers, but as our thought partners throughout the process, as well as in organizing activities at the center and its gardens. Thank you, and I look forward to the future.